You know what finally changed me? It wasn't the heartbreak. It wasn't being ignored. It wasn't even losing them. It was the moment I realized I was abandoning myself, trying to make someone else stay. I kept explaining myself, hoping, waiting, trying harder, loving louder, as if being softer, more patient, more understanding would finally make someone choose me. But one day, I got tired. Tired of shrinking myself for love. Tired of begging for reassurance. Tired of trying to convince people to care. And that was the beginning of healing. You don't notice it at first. The way you slowly disappear inside relationships, it happens quietly, so quietly. But sometimes you don't even realize it's happening. You stop saying what hurts you. You stop asking for too much. Because every time you did, you were made to feel difficult. So you became easier, quieter, softer, smaller. And little by little, you started carrying the entire relationship alone. You start overthinking everything, their tone, their silence, the way they suddenly text differently, the way they become distant, without explaining why. And your mind never rests. You replay conversations in your head. You reread old messages. You blame yourself for things you didn't even do. You become exhausted, trying to hold together something that another person is no longer protecting. And the hardest part, you still love them. Even while you were breaking, you still tried to understand them, still defended them, still gave them grace, while you were slowly running out of grace for yourself. And that's what emotional exhaustion feels like. Not loud sadness, not dramatic pain, just being tired all the time. Tired in your chest, tired in your mind, tired in your soul. There were nights where all you wanted was reassurance. One honest conversation, one moment of clarity, one moment where somebody simply looked at you and said, "I'm not going anywhere." But instead, you learned how to survive uncertainty. And maybe that's why you became anxious. Not because you were too emotional, not because you were weak, but because you kept loving in places where safety did not exist. You kept trying to relax inside emotional chaos, and no human heart can heal there. You know something strange? When you spend too much time begging for love, you eventually forget what love is supposed to feel like. You start confusing anxiety with connection. You confuse inconsistency with passion. You confuse emotional pain with depth. But love, real love, doesn't make you afraid to breathe. Healthy love is calm. It doesn't leave you guessing every day. It doesn't punish you with silence. It doesn't make you earn basic care. Healthy love feels safe, clear, gentle, peaceful. And when you finally experience peace, you realize how exhausted you were. One day, you stopped chasing. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally became tired of abandoning yourself. You realize you cannot keep setting yourself on fire just to keep other people warm. And healing is uncomfortable at first, because when the chaos disappears, you're finally left alone with yourself. No distractions, no chasing, no emotional roller coaster. Just you and all the parts of yourself you ignored while trying to save everyone else. There's grief and healing too. You grieve the version of yourself that accepted less than they deserved. You grieve how long you stayed, how much you tolerated, how much love you gave, hoping one day it would finally come back to you. And sometimes you even grieve the person you thought they were. But slowly, something changes. You start sleeping peacefully again. You stop checking your phone every minute. You stop panicking when somebody pulls away. You stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. And for the first time in a long time, you begin returning to yourself. You start protecting your energy, your peace, your heart. You were never too emotional. You were never too much. You were simply trying to receive love from people who did not know how to hold your heart correctly. And maybe now, it's time to hold your own heart gently, to stop chasing, to stop begging, to stop abandoning yourself for people who already abandoned you. You deserve softness too. You deserve clarity too. You deserve peace too. You know what scared me the most? It wasn't the heartbreak. It wasn't being abandoned. It wasn't even losing people I loved. It was waking up one day and realizing I could no longer feel myself anymore. There was a time when I stopped recognizing who I was. I smiled in conversations, but felt empty afterward. I laughed at things, but the happiness never stayed long enough to reach my heart. It was like my body was still here, but emotionally, I had already disappeared somewhere inside myself. And nobody really notices that kind of pain, because you still go to work. You still answer messages. You still show up. You still say, I'm okay. But inside, everything feels distant. I remember waking up every morning, already exhausted. Not physically, emotionally. My mind never stopped running. My chest never fully relaxed. And even during peaceful moments, I still felt heavy. Like something inside me was constantly bracing for pain. You know what emotional exhaustion actually feels like? It feels like your soul stopped reacting to life. You stop getting excited, you stop dreaming. You stop looking forward to things. The things that once made you happy barely reach you anymore. And slowly, you stop feeling connected to yourself. You become emotionally numb because feeling everything all the time became too painful. You answer people, but you feel absent. You sit in rooms, but mentally you're somewhere else. You listen to music, hoping it helps you feel something again. And sometimes, the loneliness becomes so normal that you stop talking about it completely. That's the dangerous part. When sadness becomes familiar, you stop trying to escape it. You start believing this version of you is permanent. You start thinking, maybe this is just who I am now. And honestly, that thought terrified me. The idea that I might spend the rest of my life feeling emotionally disconnected from myself. But healing doesn't always enter your life dramatically. Sometimes healing is almost invisible, so quiet, you nearly miss it. One day, you laugh genuinely for a few seconds longer than usual. One morning, your chest feels slightly lighter. One evening, you realize your mind has been quiet for the first time in weeks. And suddenly, you notice you survived another difficult day without falling apart. And that matters, even if nobody else sees it. Even if nobody applauds your healing, because surviving yourself is one of the hardest things a person can do. I think people misunderstand healing. They think healing means becoming happy all the time. They think healing means never crying again, never hurting again, never remembering again. But real healing is softer than that. Sometimes healing simply means the sadness no longer controls every moment of your life. You still remember what hurt you, but it no longer destroys your entire day. You still carry scars, but they no longer define your identity. And maybe that doesn't sound huge to some people, but for someone who spent months or years trying to survive their own mind, that kind of peace feels miraculous. There were nights where I genuinely thought I would never feel okay again. Nights where my thoughts became too loud, where memories replayed endlessly, where my chest felt heavy for no reason, where even resting felt exhausting. And the strange thing about emotional pain is that people cannot always see it. They see your face, but not the war happening inside your mind. They hear your voice, but not the exhaustion inside your soul. So you learn to carry pain quietly. You become the strong one, the understanding one, the calm one, while secretly feeling like you're drowning inside yourself. And eventually, your nervous system gets so used to survival mode that peace starts feeling unfamiliar. You become so used to overthinking that calm feels suspicious. You become so used to emotional chaos that silence feels uncomfortable. But slowly, your body begins learning safety again. You breathe deeper. You sleep better. You stop checking your phone constantly. You stop replaying painful conversations every night. And your heart finally begins loosening its grip on survival. There were people I thought I would miss forever. Pain I thought would always live inside me. Memories I thought would permanently destroy parts of me. But time and distance and softness started healing wounds I once believed were impossible to heal. And no, I'm still not perfectly healed. I still have difficult moments. I still get quiet. I still overthink sometimes. But it's different now. The sadness no longer owns me. The emptiness no longer controls my entire existence. I no longer wake up every morning feeling emotionally lost. And honestly, that alone feels beautiful to me. I've started noticing life again. Music, morning light, the sound of rain, peaceful silence, the warmth of slow moments, the feeling of breathing without heaviness in my chest. I forgot life could feel this soft. And maybe that's what's happening to you too. Maybe you're healing quietly. Maybe your heart is finally realizing it no longer has to survive every single day.